The next topic I want to discuss today is a really important one, and I'm going to skip a couple of steps in the process of a victim coming out and what they can do, but I'm going to discuss what happens to the person who is there as the support network. So now, it is very rare that a child will come out to many people in their lifetime, potentially one person. Now, if you seem to be that person who a child does come out and speak to. Now, when I say child, you may get a really young child come and speak to you very early on, which is great. Sometimes you'll get a child speaking to you in their adolescent years and potentially in their teen years. I would still treat the situation very much the same. And even to the situation where you get grown adults opening up and having this conversation. Because the way that the human works in regards to reliving and explaining the situation is very similar. Obviously, the terminology that people use as they get older becomes a little bit more precise, but even then, the inability to express the actual events is quite similar from a young child to an adult. So this is what would happen. If someone does come and speaks to you about a situation that has occurred, generally, it will start with them feeling very comfortable with the person they're speaking to and trying to communicate what has happened. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the same terminology I've used in the previous videos. It can be almost as if they're sending you through a guessing game. I remember the first time I came out, it was more, I started crying and had a friend with me telling my parents that we need to talk. And it became a guessing game of, did somebody hurt you? Are you pregnant? All of the scenarios they could have thought a teen could have gone through. And then it came to that situation where there's like, did someone hurt you? Yes. Did someone touch you? Yes. Was it a stranger? No. Was it a family member? Yes. And then a guessing game from there. So we can go from a situation like that to a situation where they openly come out and discuss that something is wrong. The first thing as a support network you need to understand and you need to do is you have to be like a duck treading water. They are calm on the surface. They look like as if nothing has happened, but underneath they are going crazy. I understand. Internally, you may be feeling completely in shock. You may be feeling as if you're not sure what to do. You are technically in shock. Now, on the surface level, you need to be and remain as calm as possible. You need to stay composed because this person is opening up to you. Now, if they see fear in your eyes, they could literally shut back down and not communicate anymore. So this is an opportunity for you to just sit and listen. Now, remaining calm is very obvious here. The next thing is when they are trying to explain what is happening or what has happened, it is imperative that you do not try and feed them words. Do not try and explain or understand. Just be there and listen. They might not, if they're very young, might not have the right terminology to use of body parts and actions that happened. But in that instance, let them just speak. Don't try and pry for more information. It's the worst thing you can do. You can really shut us off and then we don't want to speak anymore. So it's really important that you listen, that you stay calm, and that you don't push for more information. Now, the next thing you need to do is reassure that this person has done the right thing, that the child has done the right thing, that you're there to support them and you believe them. The number one thing you need to, and I beg that you need to do, and I was blessed that I had this opportunity, was that my parents believed me. Believe the child. You might not believe that this thing could happen, but you believe that the child is telling you the truth. From there, you need to make sure you are reinforcing safety for you and the child, because now that they've opened up such a horrific story, this now involves another party. Now you need to ensure that they are going to be safe and you are going to be safe. So some of the first steps to take, obviously being there as a support network, but then going to the relative channels to discuss this with. So whether it's reporting it to a school, a police, making a statement, whatever it needs to be done. Now, if the child is still at school, I recommend that the school does know. This supported me through my teen years as going through school. The school had counselors to help me. They had a space dedicated to me if I was feeling off and I didn't want to be at school, that I could go sit and just draw, read or write, whatever I wanted to do. Then obviously making the statement with the police, that is something I will discuss a little bit later on. The next thing, if it is someone within a family situation, it's not to create mayhem and panic. Now, you might want to personally go up and speak to other children within the same environment as that child to see if anything has happened, but it's really your responsibility here to make sure that you are not taking away from the child that has spoken to you, that you don't go and become reactive to the situation. Now, everyone thinks that the first thing to do is go after the predator, especially if they're a well-known person to yourself, to the family, to the friends, to the environment, to the community. Now, that is the last thing that you need to do and last thing you need to worry about. If you do go and approach this person, you could be jeopardizing the ability for statements, for this person to be committed of any crime. You can set them up to escape the situation and plan their way around it. Now, please, I know with all my heart that the first thing people believe they want to do is go after the offender. But truly, the answer is that you should be looking after the victim. That innocent child who sat there with you and explained to you what has happened, the first thing that should come to your mind should be, is this child okay and how can I now protect them? After you've gone through all the craziness in your head, please understand that making posts on social media, that spreading the word about what has happened to the child to the public is not your responsibility. Yes, it is your responsibility to make known that there is a predator, but there are steps to doing this. And this comes down to the responsibility of the child and when they are ready in their time to make their police statement. To protect the child, to protect other children around this predator, 100%. But to go and make mayhem and create a crazy craze around this person via social media, via whatever chains of communication you have, can be very dangerous and can also jeopardize again the situation with your child. So please use the relative networks to do this. You would have schools if your child is still within a schooling system, and the police. The police are the first place I would recommend you to go to even just discuss and find the right tools and which way about is going to be the best to present this case so that the predator can be reprimanded as soon as possible and the necessary steps can be made that will not jeopardize your child's story, nor will jeopardize your child's safety. Once you go through these processes, now it's up to the child to continue keeping the chain of communication open with you. Please do not force. I say it again, please do not force the child to explain to you in intricate detail what happened. As a matter of fact, sometimes those details take years to actually form because we've blocked them off for so long. So if you can give them time, and in their own time, they will discuss this. Now, through making a statement with the police or speaking to psychologists and counselors, their story will come through and the police will guide the child whichever way necessary to actually have this proper discussion. Now, I recommend that if a child is going to be making a statement, that they have an appropriate support network going in with them. I would highly not recommend a parent to be sitting with the child. Sometimes a stranger, we're talking about a professional, a counselor. I had a school counselor go with me to make my statement, made it very comfortable for me to open up and not feel judged because my parents know the predator. So I would recommend that they would have someone experienced sitting with them so they can make the statement with the police and that they're supported through that experience. So I'll go through the steps again. If someone does come up and tell you that this has happened, you be there for them. You be like a duck treading water. You be calm on the surface, and whatever craziness is going on inside, you compose, because you need to listen to this child. If it's a grown adult, the same thing goes. As a teen or as an adult, you are going to see the same responses. They are going to be very, very uneasy about having this conversation. Listen to what they're saying and don't force words in their mouth. Don't force them to explain in any intricate detail what has happened. Let them go in their own time and discuss. Maintain the fact that you believe the person who is speaking to you. Do not question, do not judge. Then make sure that you and the victim are safe. The next step would be to speak to the appropriate networks, whether it's the child's school, the police, whoever is necessary. Do not go and jeopardize this situation by making it worse, by confronting the predator, by posting it on social media and making it all known. Let the chain of command happen in regards to the child being looked after first. Then go and speak to the necessary people, the police, the school, etc. Once a statement has been made, once the child has gone through years of that being dealt with, let the child decipher what happens next. It is going to be a process of not days, not weeks, not months, but years. It can be a whole life span dedicated for them to work on this. And it's not the responsibility of the support network to decide when and how this happens. Obviously, if it is a young child, a minor, your responsibility is to protect them first, keep them safe, and then the safety of the community around you by reporting it to the necessary chains. Again, I cannot say that enough. Please do not jeopardize the situation by confronting the predator until everything has been through the police, through the chain of command that will not jeopardize the situation. It makes it really hard for then the victim to deal with the situation, and then it can also jeopardize the safety of other minors, children, adolescents around. The more information you have about the situation that happened to the child is not going to help you solve the problem. You don't need to know every single intricate detail. That's for the courts, that's for the police. You just need to know that something bad has happened, that there is a predator out there, and that you need to protect your child first and then the community around from that predator. And if you do this in the right steps, you can definitely help save more children, but in particular protect the child that's come to you. And they should be your first priority.